Today we'll review bookshelf speakers from a smaller French manufacturer, Jean-Marie Reynaud Lucia. Let's find out what we are getting for around 800 euros from this lesser known yet quite intriguing company. Perhaps could it rival the better known Triangle or Focal? First of all, huge respect to JMR for keeping production in Europe. Even this entry-level line is assembled in France, and that's honestly rare and well worth appreciating in this price range. As for the design, there is really not much to complain about. The finish is great, coming with pearl paint that gives off a premium vibe. The front is clean and minimalistic, decorated with an unusually soft cloth material around the drivers. Plus, no visible screws and neatly done logo, and beautifully rounded cabinet edges. On the inside, sound insulation seems impressive too. Overall, it definitely looks much more expensive than the price would suggest. Now, taste in design is subjective. I've personally seen more striking front fascias, but I can easily see why someone would love them. There is a unique, obviously French quirky aesthetic here that deserves credit. The rear of the speaker is a bit more basic, but honestly acceptable at this price point. My biggest gripe is with the proportions. Like most French bookshelf speakers, they are just a bit too tall for my liking. I prefer more compact, desk-friendly designs and generally believe that's what bookshelf speakers should prioritize. At this height, they may clutter your setup a bit, unfortunately. Another minor issue, the finish inside the front firing bass reflex port could be a bit better. It's a small detail but worth noting. Moving to the sound quality, right from the first audition, the Lucia is surprisingly captivating speaker. What immediately stands out is the mid-range. It's bold, natural, and has a certain magic to it. Vocals are huge, full of body, and for a lack of better word, emotionally engaging. Even though in-room measurements show a rather neutral response in this range, the sound feels slightly warm to my ears. Instruments are saturated and lively, adding a sense of realism and depth that is very hard to find. The bass, while not overwhelming, is somewhat decent. Given the size of the woofer and the front port, the overall depth and textures are better than I would expect. Okay, it doesn't reach super low, there is a noticeable drop below 40 Hz, but the presence is there. Compared to my Quadral Chromium 35, the Lucia definitely has less weight, but I couldn't say it sounds thin. On the other hand, at lower volumes, you do lose some depth, but it is a bit typical for front-ported designs. Where it really excels is in soundstage. Imaging is clear and precise with a wide presentation and, like I said, decent depth. The level of detail helps a lot. Everything is placed with intent and clarity. Onto the treble, the level of detail is very good. Also, initially highs felt very balanced, but over time and at lower their volumes, I noticed a certain brightness on the highest registers. Not in the typical harsh sense you might instantly hear in most speakers, it's much more subtle, perhaps more so in the clicks and percussive elements than in vocals. I think I could somehow compare it to my current Quadral Chromium 35, with a difference of smaller amounts of lower frequencies that would counter it. Still, it's something to be aware of despite being not that fatiguing. It might not be for everyone's taste and can indeed make highly dynamic tracks sound more chaotic and messy as well. Though here is the interesting part. Despite that additional brightness, I am not writing this off like I usually would do. Why? Because the overall tonality is so unique, so engaging. The mid-range feels very special. There is a kind of emotional pull there. Add to that a smooth frequency response in my room and the fact that these are hand-assembled in France, and you've got something genuinely rare in this class. Compared to something similar like the recently tested Audio Vector QR1 or the Triangle Borea BR03 or even the much more expensive Focal Area 906, the Lucia stands out with its personality and charm. All of those speakers are on the bright, lively side, but I think only the Lucia ultimately achieves proper balance and intended character. However, that's not to say they are perfect all-arounders. So to be fully honest, I can't give them 5 stars. The slightly underpowered bass and a tad more brightness that I would like make them less universally appealing than my favorite to this day, Quadral Platinum Plus 2. Still, if you're looking for a bit more forward-sounding speaker that does something different, not pumping up a lot of excessive treble, but coming with charming and exceptionally large vocals and mid-range, the JM Lucia might just be the hidden gem you've been looking for. Personally, being as impressed by this small French company as I am, I have to give them a lot of credit, but also point out if they improved the bass, tamed the treble and went with more standard cabinet proportions, I can imagine they could very well get to the top of the bookshelf speakers game, and I would love to see that. As always, share your opinion if you listen to the speakers, or perhaps suggest others you find interesting. See you in the next one. Peace.